For more reaction, we are joined virtually now by COSATU's parliamentary coordinator, Matthew Parks. Mr. Parks, thanks so much for your time. Welcome to Morning Live. So, a somber morning for South Africa and South Africans at large. Your reflections on a life well spent, some would say, the life of Pravin Gordhan.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. I think it is a tragic loss. We feel it as COSATU, as a broader liberation movement. We offer our sympathies to his family. Comrade Pravin, or Comrade PG, was a larger-than-life person. He really played his contribution to South Africa in many chapters of his life. He could have led a comfortable life as a pharmacist, albeit under the dark days of apartheid. Instead, he chose to be involved in his community through the Durban Housing Action Committee. He chose to support the liberation of the entire country, helping found the United Democratic Front. He played a key role in the real MK, with Operation Vula. And, post-1994, he played a critical role in drafting our constitution and founding the first democratic parliament. And the 60% of the budget that today is invested in uplifting working-class communities, that's in large part because of the critical role that Pravin played in establishing and really transforming the South African Revenue Service, boosting tax compliance so that the state would have the money to invest in housing and transport and free education and social grants, etc. That is Pravin's legacy. When days were dark in the decade of state capture, where many chose to sell their souls, to commit treason, to loot the state unashamedly, even from our own ranks of the movement, Pravin stood up very firmly. He sacrificed his own career because he took his oath of office to the Constitution very, very seriously. And I think we owe a debt of gratitude for that caliber of leadership. I think for us, the only regret we have, and Pravin was not perfect, there's no one who's perfect. But I think the mistake we did make was that we did not allow him to enjoy the final years of his retirement. He was, I know, very keen to continue to support the president in his work to tackle corruption. But I think with hindsight, we owed it to him and his family to have given him more space to just relax and enjoy the final years of his life. But knowing Comrade Pravin, he was at heart an activist, and he wanted to continue to the very last moments, playing his role in rebuilding South Africa and delivering a better life to all South Africans. And I think we owe a debt to this generation, but I think also we owe a debt to his family, who went through his terrible sacrifices. And you can see at times the amount of hatred being spewed on social media, which is beyond shameful. So I think we really do owe the greater Gordhan family a real appreciation for sharing this wonderful man with us for many, many decades.
And Pravin Gordhan, of course, Matthew Parks, was, a very hard taskmaster, and coming from the union sector, having to deal with him directly in his various portfolios as a minister, at one point the one holding the purse strings in finance. How is that working relationship?
Look, any Minister of Finance, the first word they must say to anybody who greets them is, that's the task of the job. And yes, he said no, but he was not dogmatic. Just after the 2008 global economic crisis, PG became Minister of Finance in 2009, so very shortly afterwards, in the midst of it. And he, unveiled a very bold, aggressive stimulus budget to help stabilize the economy, to help save jobs, to help grow the economy. So he was not dogmatic. When many people were calling for the privatization of state-owned enterprises over the past few years, when the SOEs were on their knees because of previous ministers' leadership who allowed looting to continue. Pravin, stood in defense of those SOEs, and it was not perfect. There's nobody who can be perfect. But today, partly because of the significant leadership role he played, and of course others too, we have experienced 5 months of no load shedding. Eskom is finally turning around. It's not out of the woods completely, but you see light at the end of the tunnel. Today, South African Airways, which had collapsed, which was no longer flying, once again is flying in South African and international skies. And that's partly because of Pravin's relentless efforts to do the difficult work, to remove corrupt elements, to get in place competent management, to deal with issues of debt, of restructuring, of rebuilding. We would not always agree, but what we did know, even in his past term as Minister of Public Enterprises, if you wanted to talk to him, wanted to get a hold of him, he was always available. If you wanted him to meet with workers at Transnet who were fearing about their jobs, he was available. But I was quite intrigued by an article that Comrade Trevor Manuel wrote this morning in tribute to PG, where he said Pravin always wanted you to do better. And that's actually something we had said as COSATU, he always expected, you come with your complaints, it's fine, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do better? And I think that's why he made a critical role in many administrations of the democratic dispensation.
Well, that's where we'll leave it. Thank you so much, Matthew Parks, COSATU's parliamentary coordinator, paying tribute there to Pravin Gordhan.